real website, not from somebody else.
Good. OK, so you can kind of have some kind of seed value, some kind of hash value that has to be resubmitted with the stock purchase that a bad guy's random website would not know because it's constantly changing. But if you actually did commit this buy on the real eTrade.com, that would be a hidden form field that comes with it. So a kind of a token, a temporary token. So that could be one defense. Now, of course, the bad guy could really be malicious and somehow sniff that cookie. But let's assume our adversary is not sniffing all of our traffic. What else can you do? Yeah, Kevin.
Could you make people like re-log in if they want to buy this stuff, or like when they get to that link, have them read?
Good. Yeah, so I'm kind of being unfair to eTrade. Odds are they don't have like one-click stock purchases features, right? Where you just send a GET request and you buy the stock. Odds are they'll prompt you to at least confirm, or even more securely, prompt you to re-log in. In fact, if any of you shop on Amazon.com, it's a little annoying, but they do exactly that. And every time you add stuff to your cart, you then check out, and then they prompt you for your password again, even if you just typed it in. And that raises the bar. What else could you do here to defend this? There's kind of an obvious one, even though it's not perfect. Yeah?
You can check the refer, but that's not very secure.
OK, good. So you can check the HTTP header, the HTTP referrer header. But indeed, that can be very easily spoofed. It can be scrubbed by browser privacy settings or special proxy software. So good as a heuristic, but not as something to rely on. Good. So if the whole problem is that gets are just so damn easy for other people to construct, well, let's just use posts instead. Now, of course, that would fix, in this case, all of these attacks. All three of these links would now no longer work if we only supported post. But anyone who knows a little bit of JavaScript can actually trick you into submitting something via post and can even redirect you via post by having a little JavaScript event handler that says as soon as you're on bad.guy.com, do form.submit, open paren, close paren in JavaScript, and bam, you've just submitted a form via post elsewhere. So it does raise the bar and makes these kinds of attacks harder, but doesn't solve it perfectly. But in conjunction, pretty good things. But really, again, I would propose that the takeaway here is that if you never even thought about what could happen if someone else tricks a user into following a link like this that you were just taking for granted for yourself, like that's really the takeaway, to at least give some thought to this and then decide, is it really worth my spending the time and effort to raise the bar even further? So this is the XSS type attack that Yella referred to earlier. So this is unfortunately a little hard to fit in a big font. But if we look at the top line there, so vulnerable.com means this is a poorly designed website. And suppose that it has some URL that expects an HTTP parameter called foo. And foo gets its value from like a form field or something like that. Well, suppose that the bad guy types in literally this, open bracket, script, close bracket, ... But the interesting part of this is that what is he doing? He's doing document.location. So that's going to change the URL to be what? badguy.com/log.php. So in other words, I'm going to redirect the user from the vulnerable site to my bad guy's site. But what am I going to pass in just for fun? The contents of the user's cookie jar. So document.cookie is the user's cookies for the current website. So that means the badguy.com has now logged, presumably via log.php, all of the cookies. So what's probably among those cookies for vulnerable.com? My session cookie, or God forbid a secret, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but probably my session cookie, which means badguy.com doesn't even need to be in Starbucks with me. He can be anywhere in the world and now log into my Facebook account, Twitter account, whatever it actually is that is vulnerable.com. And how about here? This is just to make clear, actually what the user might see is this, which makes a little less obvious what's going on, just because no one can understand things like the % signs and the URL encoding there. So not very good if the user can actually hijack your cookies. Other questions? Oh, and so as an aside, this is commonly seen, and I think even in 50 I did the demo where I didn't type in a document.cookie example. I think I did something like alert, and I said hi on a web page. Obviously, hi is not really an attack on a website, because if you trick the user into triggering JavaScript pop-ups, annoying, but not dangerous. But again, increasingly do websites contain juicy information within the scope of the DOM itself, and that information can, in fact, be leaked quite easily. Any questions? All right, so a lot to think about. Not directly applicable necessarily to iOS projects unless you are doing things on the back end, but certainly moving forward as you exit this course, keep in mind how better to engineer your software. So on a sad note, we're almost done. The SES Design Fair is next Tuesday. This is meant to be an event across Cs, CS50 in spirit, but done more on a course-specific basis. We are slated to be in the ground floor of Maxwell Dworkin with a whole bunch of bar height type tables. There'll be food and music and the like, as well as classes like 171, 179, 51, some engineering sciences classes. This will be next Tuesday, which is a couple days before the last iOS project is done. So the goal, let's say internally as a class, is to impress everyone else, even if you know there's menu options that don't yet work on your application. That's totally fine. You can now learn the delicate art of presenting things only that you know to work. But it's okay if not everything is done by Tuesday. And Tommy and Rob and I will send out an email sometime this week dividing the class up into 3 shifts, much like the CS50 fair. And the goal is really just to come for a bit, couple hours, hang out, socialize, eat, show off projects, and also see what others in the engineering school have done. So without further ado, that's it for CS164. Thanks very much. We'll see you next Tuesday.